Hello, Code Journeyers, and welcome back to the Truth So Help Me Good. I am your host, Barbara Landry, and together we continue to explore some of the bigger questions about this journey we call life, with inspiration from my upcoming memoir, The Truth So Help Me Good. Welcome to episode 18. This past week, at the invitation of our very good friends Donna and Robert, and with Tim's enthusiasm, we attended the Rolling Stones concert at Gillette Stadium. Although, as you know, I am a great lover of music, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Rolling Stones fan. Don't get me wrong, I love their music and appreciate their place in the history of our counterculture. But I was always more of a James Taylor and Bonnie Raitt kind of girl. But the moment that 80-year-old Mick Jagger came out on the stage, it was obvious that we had the good fortune of being present for something really big. First of all, he never stopped moving. He was full of this incredible energy, spark, joy, passion. I knew that there was something here much bigger than just another rock concert. I already had my antenna up, looking for inspiration for my next podcast episode. And when I heard Mick singing the words, "You can't always get what you want," I knew in that moment that was it. That was the seed that would be my inspiration for my next podcast. So here we are. By way of review, because we all know the words to the iconic chorus, I'm going to say them anyway. And I quote, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might find you get what you need." As soon as I heard Mick singing the words, I realized that this applies to so many things in life, if not everything in life. We have expectations of how things should be, what we are entitled to, what is fair, what is right, and of course, the way we want things to be. It resonates so deeply with me and my life journey, and how often I did not get what I wanted. And yet, more often than not, I always seemed to get what I needed, whether I thought so at the time or not. So I randomly opened the 3-ring binder that holds my manuscript, trusting that I would open to the perfect place, which represents one of my experiences of not getting what I wanted, and yet getting what I needed on my journey. Ironically, the page that I opened to was from a chapter entitled Lemonade. The chapter takes place 6 months after my divorce in early 1997, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It started with an abnormal mammogram that was cause for concern because of my family medical history. I was asked to come back for some enlargement views on the Thursday before the Martin Luther King long weekend. I was told I would get the results by the following Tuesday. This excerpt describes my experience, and I quote, "Tuesday morning couldn't come fast enough. Just after 8 a.m., I dialed the number I called at least a dozen times the previous Friday. 'Dartmouth Hitchcock Radiology,' said the voice on the other end of the line, clearly bracing herself for the onslaught of calls due to arrive after a long weekend of silence. 'Hello, this is Barbara Landry. I'm following up on some enlargement views I had taken last Thursday. I'm wondering what the results are.' 'What is your date of birth?' she asked. 7:17:57, I said. Hold on, let me check that for you. I'm going to put you on a brief hold. Elevator music began to play, an instrumental version of the indifferent mammogram machine I had encountered days before. Not uplifting, not discouraging, just filler, designed to anesthetize even the most anxious of callers. Musical soma. You could believe anything you want in this state of ambiguous limbo. Hello? Said the returning voice. Hello? I replied in my kindest, most patient tone, secretly hoping that my good behavior would impact the news she was about to deliver. Yes, this was reviewed by the radiologist Dr. Birnbaum. The recommendation is for a biopsy due to your family history of breast cancer. We will be contacting you to make the arrangements, she said quickly before I was able to begin my line of questioning. Is the number you are calling from a good number to reach you? She asked. Yes, thank you and have a good day, she said with the marked determination of someone who knew how to bring a conversation to a close. Thank you too, I said as I hung up the phone. The anxiety rose up and grabbed me by the throat. Biopsy? Biopsy of what? Did they see something? There was no going back to business as usual. Another layer had just been added to my angst-ridden existence. Suck it up and bury it deep. That was my best coping skill. That was my superpower. That and a good game of catch me if you can. As long as you keep on moving, nothing can touch you. As long as you keep on moving, you are still in control. End quote. To put this in context, when I made the excruciating decision to get divorced, I can't say it was at all what I wanted. But I had come to a point where I realized it was a necessary decision nonetheless. Imagine my surprise when 6 months after the divorce was final, I found myself in the situation of learning that I had breast cancer. That was not in my plan. That was not at all what I had in mind when I uprooted the lives of my family and got divorced. I did not get what I wanted when I found out I had breast cancer. Just before my diagnosis, a new client who had spent years and years in litigation concerning his children from a prior divorce arrived in my office, carrying bags of paperwork. There was something metaphoric about all this baggage and the toll that it had taken on him. At the same time as my diagnosis, he too was diagnosed with cancer. When calling his wife to check on how he was doing, I learned that he was receiving something called Reiki from a woman by the name of Karen. I had never heard of Reiki, nor did I know what it was, but for some reason unknown to me at the time, I wrote down Karen's name and telephone number. The week of my surgery, my client died. I could not bring myself to go to the funeral. Shortly after, I called Karen and made arrangements to meet her at my office. In the chapter entitled, When the Student is Ready, I describe our first meeting, and I quote, Seated in a chair reserved for my clients, my eyes followed Karen as she completed a semicircle around me, clearly sizing me up. No, she said while rubbing her chin, you are not done yet. She was poised and confident as she retraced her steps, still making her assessment. You still have work to do, she added, as she scanned me with her eyes from my feet up to the top of my head. She spoke with absolute certainty, as if she had received the information from a reliable source. I assumed she was talking about whether or not I was going to die. The strength of her conviction was both intimidating and comforting. She was not at all what I expected a Reiki master to be like, dressed in a business suit and working as a corporate real estate broker as her day job. She had no obvious signs of a New Age perspective, no tie-dye, crystals, or the faintest scent of patchouli. She looked like a businesswoman, and her demeanor matched. There was no sentimentality. She spoke matter-of-factly. It did not feel personal. End quote. There was something within me beyond my understanding that knew I was meant to work with Karen. And shortly after our first meeting, we had a Reiki session together. She told me about the universal life force energy, or chi. She smoothed my aura, gently put her hand on my body, and channeled a healing energy that seemed to permeate my entire being. It seemed unfamiliar and a little bit awkward, but I felt myself trusting the process and surrendered to it. The next day I was in court, doing my job as usual, back in the environment where I felt I had some control. But something was different, as described in the following excerpt, and I quote, "There were two bailiffs, Marjorie and Esther, sisters, who had been there for many years, and who took me under their wing. I shared with them my present circumstances, and one of them was a breast cancer survivor herself. I always felt cared about when in their presence, but today I felt especially wanting of their comfort. While standing in the hall, I heard my name paged to courtroom 1, and in my usual fashion, I turned on my heels and started to bolt for the courtroom. "Slow down," Esther said, as her face softened and she gave me a knowing smile. I held myself back and began to move more slowly. I noticed that I was always moving fast, as though trying to outrun some imaginary clock, as if trying to get to the finish line as quickly as possible, except there was no finish line. I had been doing this my whole life, but this was the first time that I ever really noticed. That morning, the day after my first Reiki treatment, I noticed something else. I kept gasping for air. My lungs were drawing in the deepest breaths I had ever taken. I just couldn't get enough. I don't think I had ever taken such deep breaths. I don't think I had ever noticed my breath. It continued all day and felt both powerful and strange. I decided to call Karen. "Karen, I keep gasping for air. My lungs are taking these huge breaths." "It is normal," she said. "You are in a healing crisis. Your body is doing what it needs to do, to heal. And right now, you need to breathe," she said. A healing crisis? It sounds like an oxymoron, I thought. How could healing be a crisis? But there was something so powerful about those breaths, and watching my body suck them in so deeply in a way that was beyond my doing or control. Here I had spent my life breathing and never really noticed my own breath. A door to self-understanding was beginning to open for me. An opportunity to live life differently was being presented to me and I was open to learn and to heal. This shift, this new beginning of self-awareness, changed my trajectory. I began a spiritual journey that continued to support healing and inner growth. It was what I needed at the time and was born out of a situation that I had not wanted. The human journey presents us with myriad situations that we do not wish for, let alone want. I wonder how Mick Jagger feels about saying the words, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you get what you need," and how that has changed for him over the course of his 80-year journey. I can tell you that it has been the things that I have wanted the least that have caused me the most opportunity to learn and grow, to transform and heal, to get what I needed. I would like to end this episode with a poem entitled "Listen When You Need It Most" by M.T.N. Poetry. Do not believe the whispers. Do not fear the cascade. Let it roar fierce and shifting. Let it rumble on and fade. Know that it returns sometimes. Know you can survive. You are made of forests green. You are lush and destined to thrive. Listen when you need it most. Listen when kindness flows. Root yourself in gifted love. Root yourself where it grows. It's there that it will quiet. It's there where you can breathe. You'll find the sunlight shining. You'll find your own reprieve. Thank you, co-journeyers, for listening. I look forward to being with you again soon. Take care and be well.